it is the Moo Man question! It doesn't get old. Yes. So, the Moo Man question is a question chosen specifically for each debate. Tonight's question is, to be the master manipulator, one must be resistant to the manipulation of others. Demonstrate how your candidate has shown resilience to the sinister trickery of their peers. And we're going to start with Tyrion and the nerds. How have they resisted other people's manipulation? Begin.
Sure, well, first of all, it should be noted that not very many people actually try to manipulate Tyrion. Why is this? Well, it's because he's the son of Tywin Lannister, who is known for ruthlessly murdering pretty much every single person, man, woman, or child that stands against him. Those few who do try to manipulate Tyrion kind of end up dead, or worse. Let's see, there was Simon Silvertongue, who got turned into a pot of stew. That's nice. Let's see. Okay, I've got another spoiler alert, everybody. So if you haven't read the books, I gotta warn you. There's a couple people who try and manipulate.
I'm dyslexic.
Yeah, there's a couple of people who try and manipulate Tyrion. One of them is his father, and Tyrion gets some hardcore vengeance on that dude. He shoots him in the stomach with a crossbow while he's sitting on the toilet.
Nice!
I am my ears sitting on the toilet. Please continue.
Yeah, I mean, you look at pretty much every single person who's ever tried to cross Tyrion, and they've gotten thrown in a black cell, they've gotten shipped off to the wall, and subsequently beheaded. Just overall fucked up, man. You don't want to mess with Tyrion.
30 seconds.
And really, in comparison to our opponent here, Loki gets manipulated by Black Widow within 2 minutes of their first meeting.
She's hot!
So are half the women in Westeros. I mean, look at Cersei.
No, they're not.
It's a choice. And even Cersei, Kim.
Bitch, please.
She was supposed to be here and couldn't make it.
I'm afraid I'm going to have to end on that. Sorry. All right, so let's hear it for the nerds. All right, so it is time for the main question and the Geeks with Loki. Explain to me how he has resisted the manipulation of others. Please begin.
Loki defends himself against the manipulation of others by being aware that everyone wants something and figuring out what that is. Here's the secret of conspiracy. Everybody thinks that in a conspiracy, everybody's working towards the same goal. They're not. Everybody has their own reason for joining whatever group they're in. Loki lets everybody think that he's in it for the same reason that they are. He's not. He never is. Everyone wants something, and anyone that seeks Loki out is doing it for a reason. It just so happens that the reasons of others are easy to figure out, and until tonight, no one really knew Loki's. Because here's the thing, the Viking culture actually had a position called Freki, and what the Freki was supposed to do was be the loyal opposition. The idea being that if you're going to have rebellion, you have somebody who's sort of a focal point so that people can go to him and say, hey, we want to join you to undermine whoever else. Isn't it interesting how Loki is definitely the bad guy, but everybody else loses and Loki is still standing?
He's basically a dick that's on your side.
Loki works for Asgard. He's loyal. He's the loyal opposition, and he's good at it. Yes, he lets the Jotun in. There was a pathway, and he took advantage of it to weaken the Jotun's position. He discovered an alien army that was a threat to both Asgard and Midgard, managed to destroy that opposition, the Chitauri army, gather an army together to, defend Midgard, that being the Avengers, and he got a taxi ride home. 30 seconds. In ancient myth, Loki was manipulated once by himself. Disguised as Utgard in the hall of the same name, he bested both himself and Thor to lull the Jotun into a false sense of security by making the Jotun think that he could be outsmarted and Thor could be outfought. The Jotun would learn their error shortly thereafter, and their kingdom would fall because of it, not to recover until Ragnarok. In Marvel Comics, Ragnarok being the prophecy where all the Asgardians are doomed to die, Loki actually set out and out-manipulated Ragnarok. He won! The Asgardians resurrected. Loki managed to resurrect himself, became a child, abdicated all of his memories, all of his powers, and still managed to out-manipulate Mephisto, Mr. Sinister, Doctor Doom, Galactus, Reed Richards, and Tony Stark.
Round 4 is who would win in a fight? So, this should be interesting. Short. Okay, yeah.
We'll spill it over in crayon later.
So, nerds, how would Tyrion Lannister defeat Loki in a fight? Begin.
Alright, Loki is informed by Thanos that the Frost Giants are moving on a distant world called Westeros, known to the locals as the White Walkers.
Winter is coming.
He decides to take advantage of the rampant political turmoil, infighting, incest, and general state of civil war, and hops on the Bifrost. Suddenly, Loki appears in the middle of the throne room. Cersei panics, Sansa faints, Joffrey hides behind the Iron Throne, Tywin reaches for his checkbook. Amid the commotion, Tyrion steps forward. He has 3 options.
Option 1, all my comments. Ron fights Podrick. Sorry. Sorry. Dyslexia is not working to me. Probably combat. So he says, okay, fine, I'll get Braun to do it. So he fights Loki, and then Podrick sneaks up from behind and spears him. Loki is yet again useless against groups.
Option 2. He orders a lavish feast with a delicious lamb stew. So young the meat pulls itself apart, warm fat gathers happily on the surface, and the most luscious of dried plums from Dorne provide a sweet crunch, all ladled out on a bed of wild flowers.
Don't forget the pigeon pie.
Oh yes, the pigeon pie. While Loki is distracted by the offering of food, Tyrion slips a laxative into the stew. As Loki goes to relieve himself, Tyrion simply shoots him with a crossbow on the toilet.
Okay, I'm going to have to interrupt you there. We have a rebuttal token being drawn in. Wait. What point do you care to rebuttal?
Useless against groups. Loki pretty much single-handedly killed as many Jotun as Thor did in the first movie when they go to Jotunheim. Not only that, when he goes in the beginning of the Avengers into the S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters all by his lonesome, he manages to not only kill a bunch of them, but turn the rest to his side. Also, do you think a god has the same digestive tract as one of you?
We're going to go back.
You can't rebuttal a rebuttal!
It's your turn.
I'll wait until the open debate. I want to go with my third option that Tyrion has in the fight round. Tyrion suggests to Loki that if he really wants to win over the people of Westeros, the best way to do that would be to marry into the royal family. And there's an opening. So he hitches Loki up with Cersei. After 2 days of being married to Cersei, Loki throws himself off the tallest tower in the Red Keep and falls to his death.
Let's hear it for the nerds. Alright, Team Geeks, it's your turn. Explain to me how Loki would defeat Tyrion in a fight. 2 minutes.
First off, just to let you know, Cersei ain't got nothing on Loki's actual daughter. She's going by the name of Hel. Cersei got shit. Now, Loki fighting Tyrion directly, it's like fighting a sack of potatoes. It's kind of pointless, and this isn't the name of the game. The name of the game is who's the master manipulator. So let's talk.
I guess that's what we're doing.
Loki is in Westeros and follows a certain Mr. Snow up to the wall, knowing that Jon Snow will die without hearing the proper words at the proper time, and he makes sure that Jon is in place when that time comes. And having used Bashful to do it, He then sends Dopey on his way. Loki suggests to someone near Sleepy that stopping at an inn for the night might be a good idea, then gives the same information to a certain Lady Stark, and points out that Bilbo is there. And so Loki gets to go check out the Vale and go see a certain sweetling and make sure that what he needs to be in place is there. Loki lets some hillfolk know that there's a rich imp on the road and makes sure they cross paths. This allows Loki access to Tywin Lannister, and with the hillsfolk, the Lannisters win their only real battle in the whole of the war, because Vikings. Loki goes to King's Landing, but not for the first time. Who do you think mentioned the blood running true within earshot of one John Arryn? And we all know how that turned out. Loki then moves Grumpy into King's Landing to keep tabs on Joffrey and moves enough information into Doc's way that he's able to put 2 and 2 together and come up with the plan to set things on fire, while also making certain that another king dutifully moves his ships into place so that the battle is won. Are you beginning to see it yet? Bilbo isn't a player in the Game of Thrones, he's a piece. And when Loki is done with him, he moves him off the board. Sansa goes to the Vale, and Philly eliminates Tywin before being set off track to keep track of the Mother of Dragons, while Jon Snow goes to defend the Wall. Mother of Dragons. There's a familiar title.
30
Let's
seconds.
stop for a second. The Game of Thrones? That title is a misnomer. The real name of this story is A Song of Ice and Fire. This is a game of solitaire that Loki is playing with himself to keep himself amused. And Happy isn't a player or a singer or more than a minor note in the Song of Ice and Fire.
I know, right?
Move everyone around to my liking and prepare my secret army for the end to come.
Tony, can you summarize that?
I'm gonna have to cut you off. I'm sorry, we have boobs. What point you care about?
We were overlooking them.
I wonder about the idea that Loki would actually be cool if he were in the Game of Thrones universe. I think we all know that if he were in the Game of Thrones universe, you know who he would be? Theon Greyjoy. Hold up. I think both teams don't know how the rebuttal token works, but let me put it like this. Loki is essentially the Theon Greyjoy of the Marvel Universe.
No!
He spends a great deal of time raised in a household that isn't truly his own. He's totally jealous of his brother, and when Daddy doesn't love him enough, because I guess not handing him the keys to his shiny new Asgard isn't loving him enough, he has to go and mess up everything for everyone. He even kills Marvel's version of Sir Roderick, Agent Coulson. When all is said and done, Loki is even less redeemable than Theon, because at least Theon eventually regretted his decision. Loki just acts even more smug than before, and let's face it, if anyone deserves to have their wang chopped off, it's Loki.
You got 30 seconds to finish your fight round.
Loki is a god, an immortal. He's existed since ancient times, since before the Lannisters were a house, back before the wall was built. He tricked Bran the Builder into building the wall the same way he tricked the Jotun into building the walls of Asgard. And he sent his grandchildren, the Starks, who claim wealth is their sign, the Targaryens, who claim dragons, the Midgard serpent, as theirs, and the Dothraki, the Horse Lords, because his other child is Odin's horse.
Okay, I'm totally not calling you grandpa.
And how does he move everyone to his liking? He's had time to develop things, time to teach some lucky few a useful cantrip, that of adopting another's face. He can have his people be anyone, anywhere, at any time, and he is even giving them a code word.
Bella Morghulis!
I was really lost. Let's keep going.
Me too!
It is time.